The movie starts and we get to know about the concept of the movie, where the world has advanced a lot. You must have heard that time is money, but what happens when it starts to be literally used, and instead of money, time should become the new currency? The concept of this movie is also similar, where we know that now time is the new currency in the world. As soon as every human being is born, 1 year's time is made on his hand, and this timer can start when that person turns 25 years old. Now on the basis of this time, any person can buy food and drink and other things for himself. To buy anything you have to scan one's time, and then with the payment of time you can buy that thing. And if any person runs out of time, he dies immediately. Now here we are shown an area where the time zone is called day din, and the people here are quite poor, they have lack of time, and everyone has to work hard to earn time, and every day they get only 24 hours of time as pay. That is why they have to work every day of the year, because if they don't, they will die after 24 hours. On the other hand, we are shown the wealthy community called Greenwich, and here people have hours in the quantity of millions. The scene revolves around a man named Will who also belongs to the same poor community. Today is Will's mom's birthday, but we see that Will's mom is as young as Will, from which we know that actually the age of humans does not increase after 25. That is, no matter how many years pass, humans look 25 years old. That's why Will's mom is so young. Will tells his mom that they will celebrate her birthday tonight, after which he leaves for work. On reaching there, he finds that a worker has died because he runs out of time. But they all go to work because if they don't do their work then they won't get time for the next 24 hours. Here we also see Borel, Will's friend. Both of them work with the rest of the workers for the whole day, and then at the end of the day they are all scanned for 24 hours, after which they both go to a bar for a drink. There, Val sees a man with a 116-year time on his hand, to which Will is surprised that their area is so poor, and nobody has that much time here. That's why Will tells the man to be careful here, because seeing his time, anyone can try to steal it. But the man doesn't pay much attention to Will, and Will comes and sits next to Borel. Meanwhile, some thieves come there who came to steal this man's time. They ask him to scan his time, on which his time will be transferred to him. The man says first I want to go to the washroom, whereupon the punk sends him to the washroom with his man. Will is watching all this and goes to save him, and somehow gets him out of there and goes into a building. But due to the hooligans outside, they were not able to leave there. That is why they have to spend the night there. Now they both start talking. This man's name is Henry. Henry explains that he used to be a businessman. He had a lot of time. His age is more than 100 years, and now at this point he is fed up with life. That's why he left his business, and he started using whatever time he earned. He still has a lot of time, but he doesn't know where to spend it. Then Will explains to him that you should value this time. There are many people like me who work day and night for this time, at which Henry begins to think something. After talking for some time, they both fall asleep there. When Will opens his eyes in the morning, he sees that Henry is not there, and he is shocked to see that Henry has transferred all his time to him. Then he sees the window where Henry left a message for him, that have to use my time well and don't waste it. Will looks out onto the bridge where Henry is sit for committing suicide. He had saved very little time for himself. Seeing him, Will runs towards him, but as soon as Henry's seconds expire, he suffers a heart attack and dies on the spot, after which his body falls into the water. Will is very sad because he could not save Henry, but before this murder can be blamed on him, he starts to leave, but all this was recorded in the camera there. Will doesn't know what to do. That is why he first goes to his best friend, and tells him everything. He then transfers his 10 years to him to make his life a little easier. He then leaves to meet his mother. There, when Will's mother gets on the bus fare has increased, and Will's mom didn't have enough time to buy tickets, due to which the bus driver gets her out of the bus, so Will's mom starts running to get to Will, because if her time runs out, she will die. Meanwhile, when the bus comes to a stop, Will notices that his mother is not there. He realizes that something is wrong. That's why he also starts running quickly towards the first stop. On the way he sees his mother running towards him, but before they can reach each other, Will's mom runs out of time, and she has died there. Will cries a lot because he had enough time today to save his mom, and they could live happily ever after, but he could not save his mom. The scene changes and we see that Henry's body has floats on water, where the police is investigating it. Here the police is called timekeeper. A timekeeper named Raven is the investigating officer of the case, where his team members think that Henry may have been killed for his time, where they say that his death may have been due to lack of time, but here Raven says that no, someone has stolen his time, but there seemed to be another reason, and he wanted to know that reason. Will gets into a car and goes to Greenwich. Will has to cross multiple time zones to get there and does his scanning on each zone. On reaching Greenwich, his eyes fall on a girl, and then he starts moving forward and then he goes to a hotel, where this girl meets him there too. Will books a room and then while he is having lunch at the hotel, the same girl turns up again. He gives a week of tip to the waiters there, and then he asks her about the casino, and then at night he gets ready and goes to the casino. He has to give his 1 year for entry there, and then he is seated at a table where he plays a game of poker, and there he meets a businessman named Philippe. Will plays a game of poker with him, Will invests all his time in the game which he wins, and then he wins 1,000 years. There is also a hotel girl named Sylvia, and she happens to be the daughter of the same Philippe. Philippe invites Will to a party at his house. The next day he drives an expensive car to Philip's house for that party, where he meets Philip's mother-in-law, wife and daughter, who appear to be the same age, but in reality, their age was different. At the party, Sylvia asks Will to dance with her, they dance and then Will takes her out with him. The timekeeper, on the other hand, finds CCTV footage of Will going to Philip's house, and they find out about Will. Sylvia's house was on the beach side, that's why Will asks her to swim. Both were swimming in the sea, there Sylvia's bodyguard calls her, both come back to the party wearing their clothes, and Philip doesn't know about their bathing in the sea. Raven arrives at the party and he takes Will to a room with him, and asks him the reason for Henry's death. Will says that he won it from the time game and Henry gave him all his time before he died. Raven stores all his time in a capsule and orders to arrest him, whereupon Will descends by beating the timekeepers and captures Sylvia as a hostage. He takes Sylvia out with him in the car and kidnaps her and drives away. Raven also follows him, but Will hides from him and runs away. On their way, they reach Daydin, but the police have already set their trap there, which causes Will's car to crash and both of them faint. Then Daydin's people come there and steal all of Sylvia's time, and when she opened her eyes, she only had 32 minutes. Will rushes her to Borel's house with him, where Borel's wife tells him that Borel wasted all his time on alcohol, by which his time ended and his death happened. Will then takes Sylvia's diamond ring and sells it, which gives them 48 hours, and now he takes Sylvia at gunpoint and takes her to the call station and asks her to call Philip. He then tells Philip that if you give me 1,000 years and transfer it to Daydin's bank, I will release Sylvia. At night, Sylvia comes with Will at his house. They rest and Will gives Sylvia his mom's dress. Sylvia asks about his parents. Will says that my father died in my childhood and I was brought up by my mother. Will then tells Sylvia a trick that transfers Sylvia's time into his arm. When they both wake up in the morning, they find that Philippe hasn't sent his 1,000 years yet. Now Will and Sylvia have become quite friendly. Will tells her to go back to her house. Sylvia says she will come with him too. She says I will tell my father that I went of my own free will. They both kiss each other now. Will also gives a gun to Sylvia. Sylvia calls Philip from the phone booth. Raven comes from behind, who is about to shoot Will perfectly, but Sylvia shoots him down and they run away with Raven's car. Sylvia says we are in a timekeeper's car so that other timekeepers can track us, so she says that we have to go in another car, and they both rob a car and then steal the time from a lady sitting in it and leave there, after which they go to a quiet place and watch a news on TV. Will is now being sought by the police. They both kiss each other in the car and spend a good time. Raven now approaches Philip and tells him that now he has to kidnap Sylvia as well, because she shot a timekeeper. Will teaches Sylvia how to shoot a gun. Will is running out of time now, so Sylvia tells him I have a way. After that, they both sit in a truck and go to the bank. The bank belonged to Sylvia's father. They steal a lot of time capsules from there. Will also give his time to other people for free. He gives a lot of his time to the poor, but after all this time, crime also increases in Daydin. At night, Will and Sylvia are in a hotel and spend a good time with each other, and the timekeepers also come there. They both put on their clothes and then come out of the room. The timekeepers also run after them, but they both jump from the windows and run away from the hotel. Timekeepers also run behind them and shoot on them, but somehow they both escape. Will and Sylvia now stay at another hotel, and they book all the rooms from the reception there. Both go to a room, and there another person also comes to this hotel, but the receptionist does not give him any room, because all the rooms were booked by Will. The scene now shifts to Daydin's gangster, who gathers the local boys and asks them about Will and Sylvia. Fearing this, a boy tells him the address, and then he reaches this hotel with more goons along with him. He catches both of them and tries to scare them with a gun. Then he talks about a game instead of killing them. He asks him to arm wrestle. Will arm wrestles him using the same tricks he taught Sylvia, which distracts the goon on his own time, and Will takes advantage of that to kill everyone else with his gun, and they both run away from there. They both spend the night on the roof of a building. Next day Sylvia comes to her father with a gun, and that's why everyone points the gun at Sylvia. All eyes are on Sylvia, to which Will comes from behind and points a gun at Philip, and then takes him to Philip's room, and Sylvia asks for his room locker. Then they take a time capsule from there which has 1,000,000 years time. They both bring the capsule back to Daydin, and on the way, the timekeeper sees them, and he starts following them. Will then accelerates his car and drives off, crossing multiple time zones, and reaches Daydin, but Raven crashes his car with them. Will gets out of the car and hands the capsule to the little girl, which takes the capsule to Daydin's bank. Raven also takes Will at gunpoint after getting out of the car, but then there the bank divides the time among all the people, due to which there is a rush, and they both take advantage and leave. Raven follows Will and tells them both to surrender. Then Will says, "Do you have enough time to arrest us?" At which Raven looks at his time and he now has a few seconds left, before he can do anything. His time runs out and he died on the spot. Now Will also has only a few seconds of time. Sylvia gives her time so he can survive. But here Will gets an idea and they run to Raven's car, because there was a time capsule in his car that they both could survive with that. Both run towards the car. Will reaches the car and fills his timer. Sylvia was left behind and now only had 5 seconds left. Will immediately transfers time to her and saves her life, then both hug each other. Due to the time distribution, there were many changes in the people of Day Din. All of them were very happy, and they also left their job because their time requirement was now fulfilled by Will and Sylvia. Timekeepers are also reluctant to catch them. Now and last, both of them come to a bank with guns. Now Will and Sylvia rob the banks and the movie ends there.